Pokemon Worlds! We went to Worlds 2025. It's Robo Skills.
And I'm Twice Baked Jake. We're back from Pokemon Worlds, and It was a really awesome time. I'm glad that we both got to make it. Did you have a fantastic time, dude?
I didn't get to go as long as you did, but for the time I was there, it was fantastic. I had to make it a kind of a short trip because then I was on my way to Front Row Card Show in Las Vegas, which was also awesome. Yeah. We'll talk about that. But Worlds, I thought, was really, really good. I mean, like... It just really shows you the scale of how many people love Pokemon in the entire world.
Yeah, it was a big event, and I will say it was significantly better than Honolulu. During the Honolulu one, I kind of roasted it a little bit because I didn't have the best of time. It was a good experience. It wasn't a terrible experience, but there were critiques that I had. And I was talking to some of the staff members at Pokemon Worlds, and they said, oh, we actually watched your video, and we use it as an example of how we can improve. So I was very happy. I was like, dude, that feels so great. And so there were a ton of improvements made to this Pokemon Worlds, and I think it's significantly better. The venue is better. The amount of quality of activities is better. There's just more to do at this Pokemon Worlds, and the Pokemon Center improved. I know on the first day of the Pokemon Center, it was a terrible experience in terms of like the speed of queue, how long it was to check out.
The lines,
but after that, they improved it immediately. Like as soon as they saw the issues on Wednesday, by Thursday to Friday, it started improving. And by Saturday, it was like so streamlined. Everything was figured out.
Nice.
But I'm happy that they took the feedback immediately. And if you actually shop at the Pokemon Center, which I know you did, did you get an email that says like, hey man, if you'd like to give us feedback, respond here?
Oh yeah. So I guess I'm assuming everyone that checked out got that.
Yes, which I think is really cool that they're like, hey, we want your immediate feedback. And I was like, whoa, like this is quick. And I'm glad that they're doing that. It was a good experience.
It's so funny. I talked to some people that said they like the Hawaii Pokemon Center experience more than the Anaheim one. What is it that you but maybe it was in terms of, I'll say this, the feedback was maybe more so in terms of decoration, in that when you went to the Honolulu Worlds, it was like going into the Pokemon Center was more of an experience, whereas here in Anaheim it was more kind of just like a I don't know, the lines were more like you're in like an airport hangar or an airplane hangar, and there's not much to look at. Or they did have some stuff set up, but you'd be outside the main line if you wanted to like wait in a smaller line to take pictures with that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if they just zigzagged a long line, they had the space to kind of put some stuff that you could take pictures with, or some stuff to like entertain people while you're in line. I think places that do that very well will create photo opportunities within the line. So as you're having to wait in the line, people can take photos with whatever thing as they're waiting.
I think you hit it. So at Honolulu, the line was actually inside of a parking lot, and it was outside. Yeah. So it was very hot and stuffy, and they were passing out water because people were getting pretty dehydrated. This year's Worlds, there's a little bit on the outside, but once you're inside of the queue, it's actually fully inside, and it was air conditioned. There was a DJ playing music.
Yeah.
They absolutely improve it. There was plenty of restrooms available and stuff like that. So once you were inside, I think the experience of this World is still better. You're right, it is sparse. It is still a little bit sparse, and I noticed that as well. And the reason we're mentioning the Pokemon Center is because that was one of the highlights, is that a lot of people just goes to Worlds specifically for the Pokemon Center. It was a big part of the entire experience. I think that's what most people are excited for, is the merch.
And even outside the merch, like even if you want to explore the other stuff, sometimes you can't. It's getting as big as Comic-Con now, where it was a lottery to get a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or all weekend pass. But even if you didn't get a pass to go into Worlds, like where the tournament and the stages are, you could still apply to at least go to the, show up and just go to the Pokemon
That's very
Center.
true. Is that for a lot of the signature events and meet and greets, we got accepted to none of them. So I wanted to see some of the artists. I wanted to see some of the content creators.
I didn't get any of them either.
I didn't get selected for any of them.
Yeah.
And the lines were backed for hours, so it was impossible. Like,
so it's like how many people probably got those,
Yeah. So absolutely, and I think you're right, is that the way that they improved the line for Pokemon Center is actually to add some more of those photo opportunities directly into the line.
Right.
Kind of like the Pokemon, kind of like Disney, how they have a very good queue system where it makes it look like the line is the part of the
part
ride.
of the right. Yes, the more you can make being in the line a part of the show. And they kind of did that with the when you were kind of corralled in the like Squirtle section, Charmander, Bulbasaur section, but then when you got into the main line that was like, okay, you're about to go into the Pokemon Center, your line would zigzag right next to the DJ that's playing the music for everyone. So the DJ there is cool. You get to kind of chat with the DJ. Or I
took a photo of him.
Yeah, right. So you see him doing his thing, and he was really cool. Shout outs to that guy. But, just if you have a longer line, zigzag more of the photo ops and the design things, art pieces, or stuff people would take pictures in, because you're going to be standing in line anyway. While you're standing, a couple groups can take photos with the thing. And then as you move more like into the line, a new group comes up, they can take photos, and then it just makes waiting in line less of a kind of like we're just standing here doing nothing, and more of, part of the experience.
Yeah. Once you're inside of the Pokemon Center too, most of the exclusive items, such as the mugs, the world exclusive backpack, these were all limited to one per person.
That's right.
So you could buy as many of these as you wanted, and obviously everything was sold out at the Honolulu Pokemon Center very, very early.
Oh, so was it scalped like more because people could just grab 10 backpacks if you could afford 10 backpacks?
Yeah, that's correct.
So then that's definitely an improvement. So check this out, guys. This is the world's backpack for 2025. The theme, what would you call this theme? I know we were both commenting how it does have the world's kind of stamp or patch on it. Very cool design, almost like a university like city theme. Is that Anaheim's? But also like
a little bit of like beachness to it.
Beach
obviously
vibes,
with the bodyboard here. Very, very cool product. This is going to be on display somewhere on the card lounge, I'm very sure.
It's very like varsity jacket. Go meet out at the local diner or
like the local In-N-Out or burger joint.
Put this on the wide shot. But look at this, guys. So this is the Pokemon World's boogie board. And this was one of the exclusive things. And I remember this on the first day was like one per person. And then I guess later they made it to where you could buy like two.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool.
Obviously we were able to get one because we were not flying. But if you're flying, that's going to be a hard one to take back to Europe or Latin America.
So that's what it was. I think they expected more of this to be like, it's such a big item that there's probably people that flew in and they're like, oh, I'd love to get this, but we can't pack this with us or take it with us. So then they weren't selling enough of them. And then later on the weekend, they were like, okay, you know what? You can buy 2 of these so that locals could buy more.
Yeah. The other nice thing about this Pokemon Center experience was the voucher system, which kind of guarantees that you might get something. So if you got a voucher, it doesn't matter if your time is 5 p.m. If you have a voucher for it, that item is guaranteed. And it was specifically to some of the more popular world exclusive products like the Bear Walker skateboard, the jukebox, the shiny Gyarados.
I didn't get any of those.
Figure. Did you get any of the ETBs?
I got the Pokemon Center ETBs.
That's cool at least. Because there was no TCG available for pickup by hand.
Right.
The only way you could get Pokemon cards was by a voucher lottery system.
That was the biggest difference. So you know what's so funny? The way, this is how you know, and it kind of piggybacks off, you know how everyone loved our convo about the velocity of Pokemon growth and just like how everything is evolving in this past year. Every single Worlds before, even I remember going to NAICs when I was competing, and like a couple years ago, there was tons of card product and it would just sit on the shelves and you could grab stuff at MSRP and no one got it. Everyone focused on merch that was non-TCG related, like always like the plushies, especially there's always like an exclusive Pikachu Worlds plushie.
Yeah, those sold out very quickly.
Yeah, these guys were hot items. I think the coolest designed one was the Machamp, right?
You know, I slept on that one. I should have picked one up for myself because looking at it now, I'm like, dang,
he's
actually kind of cool.
A 4-sleeve varsity jacket. But what I thought was interesting,
that's a linebacker right there.
That's a linebacker. Yeah, this is a college linebacker. The only TCG product I think I saw that they had was Shrouded Fable booster bundles, and it was limited 1 per customer.
If you went early enough, you could have gone one. Same with I think on Saturday or Friday, because I had friends who went on those days. If you went early enough, they had Destined Rivals Pokemon Center ETBs.
I think I saw Yuna pick one of those up.
Yeah, that's cool.
They were available. I didn't get anything other than the Shrouded Fables booster bundle, and then I did get the lottery for one of the black and white ETBs.
Nice.
But what's interesting is how different it is from previous years where there used to be just shelves of TCG product, and then you have people still talking in the comments about how, oh, Pokemon's gonna print more. I mean, this is their world's event, and they didn't even have enough card stuff to just put any other set on the shelves besides Shrouded Fable. And of course they have Shrouded Fable available because it's Shrouded Fable.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a great event. I had a lot of fun. My favorite experience, and I've told you a little bit about this, was just trading with the international players, because it was insane. Because at previous Worlds, I've done trades with international players before, but I think what's the difference now is how much the Pokemon company has evolved in terms of an international space. Because back in the day, there really wasn't that many exclusive cards that other regions had. But nowadays, there's so many Chinese exclusive, so many Korean exclusive, Singapore, Taiwan. All these locations all have their own unique cards now. And it makes it so that there's something that they want from us as U.S. or international collectors, and there's something from them that we want, because there are cards that we cannot get in the U.S. no matter what.
You kind of remind me of like the way they do Pavilion. You know how there's like that Pokemon card that, depending on the region of where you buy it, the butterfly's wings like changes like colors. It's kind of like that, just for card exclusive now. It's like there may be a card that we are like, oh, we get this easily because it's in America, and then there's like a Taiwan exclusive promo, or like a Korean exclusive promo. Like, wasn't that Ditto? Is the Ditto Lapras a Korean exclusive?
Yeah, so there's the Ditto Lapras, which was a Korean exclusive. There's obviously a ton of Chinese exclusive, like the Captain's Pikachu, the Slumbreon. I was picking up those cards. And the Japanese collectors, they have their McDonald's booster packs. Everyone who was a Japanese player had a ton of McDonald's booster packs, but we wanted a ton of them because obviously none of our McDonald's had those.
Right. So in America, they're thinking about it correctly. It's like they just probably stocked up at a bunch of McDonald's in Japan. They fly over for Worlds, and they're like, we're going to bring this thing where we could get it for probably what, like $2, $3, $4 American, because they're just getting it with Japanese Happy Meals. They have a bunch, and they can now trade it to us where we value it more. And then you said you were getting good deals because there's stuff that they don't value too high because they can just, get it so easily in Japan. But for us here, it's a lot harder. So you do see this like almost equilibrium of the value system where we're both trading things that we're like, oh, we're trading something easy to get for something we deem hard to get, and they're doing the same exact thing with us, so everyone wins.
Yeah, so the fun thing about the trade center at the Pokemon World Championship was no money exchange. You are not allowed to trade money in any way. If you hold out a dollar bill, like, the cops are going to get you.
They kick you out?
Yeah, security will kick you out if you try to exchange anything for money. It's
Wait,
like
you couldn't buy anything?
It was illegal. Like, yes.
Whoa. Okay.
So it was hardcore, and they watch you like a hawk on all of those deals. So it was very fun because it felt a little bit like Native Americans and Pilgrims or Indians or something of that nature, where you were like trading like beads. System? Yeah, like a barter system where I was like, hey, I'll give you this card for 5 McDonald's booster packs, or how about that card for this Lapras Ditto card?
I see.
So it was a very fun barter system, and the value exchange, you're right, is what was interesting. So I brought a bunch of stuff that I think they value. Things like, it was actually very interesting, is because it's things that we would not value that much.
Right.
I'll tell you these. ETB sleeves and unique playmats. Things that you probably have a ton of. How many ETB sleeves do you have?
Yeah,
a ton.
Many.
But the thing is, they don't get those because they don't get Elite Trainer boxes in Japan.
Oh, they don't get Elite Trainer boxes.
Right.
That's a completely American product.
Exactly. So in Japan, they don't have Elite Trainer boxes. So ETB sleeves from Black and White were hot items, hot commodities.
Why aren't ETBs more expensive? You know what? I would think globally.
Well, there is a little bit of an expense to it because if you ship stuff like that to Japan, it's not cheap. I'll tell you that.
Well, right. And that's why I would think ETBs should be, like, I just collect ETBs because I like the design of them. But you're right. Even if you have an American booster box, they're like, oh, we get these Japanese cards. Like, they get Japanese booster boxes. But the one item that we all get so easily off of, like, Target or Walmart shelves or just going to an LGS is an ETB. And it really is a cool, unique item because you get like the sleeves, the dividers, and they just like that stuff because they get none of those items in Japan.
Yeah, so they actually love the playmats and the sleeves. So that was hot commodities for them. And I was also bringing up a couple of cards that we as collectors, they're still valuable cards to us, but to the Japanese collectors, they're like way like grail cards. For instance, I was telling you about some of these cards, these stained glass bird promo cards. So that card is about $100 raw card to us, right? But in Japan, it's not $100 card. It's actually like $1,000 card. And the reason for that is because it was our Hidden Fates Elite Trainer Box promo card. So it was very readily available. But for them, it was
like a hit.
It was a hit. It was a secret rare hit inside of a booster box. And so it's a super hard pull. So for them, that's a card that they want. And I saw this because I was talking with a Japanese player, and his eyes light up when he saw my stained glass bird trio. He's like, "What do you want for this?"
And
I was like, "All right, you want this deal." So now we have a trade. So that was fun because he had stuff that he didn't want, like Unagaba packs. He was willing to trade me so many of those because he's like, "Dude, I got plenty of these."
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were valuable to us because we don't get any of those.
Yeah.
And the other item that was really popular was full art trainer cards, and this is probably no surprise. Japanese players and collectors love full art trainer cards. So I had Lily and Lycia and all of these popular full art trainer cards, and they're $1,000 or $2,000 card inside of like their Japanese version of Ultra Prism.
Right.
But inside of our English set, it's like a $200, $300 card. Still very valuable, but the value trade is completely different because those are cards that they just like more than we do. So we were able to do just really awesome trades, and I'm happy about that because it was a very fun experience to do a true trade night. Like a true trade night where no money is involved and you are only trading Pokemon cards. It was so funny.
So if you didn't bring enough cards, like, would you have to go to some of the vendors outside and like you basically have to use money to buy cards that you think you can barter with to a good degree, to where those cards are like good in your favor, like full art trainers, or the stained glass birds. You take it to some other trainers from other parts of the world, and then because they're like, oh, we don't even have the stained glass birds because it's just a much rarer card in general, they might be like, oh, I can settle for the English version, and then they trade you some stuff that's well worth more than $100 value to us, because if you sold that card, you might only be able to get $100 for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it works because, for instance, the McDonald's booster packs from Japan, that was the hottest commodity at this Worlds because it just came out like a week ago before the event. So all the Japanese players had it, and it was a very common liquid item to trade back and forth. Everyone sort of knew the value of it. In Japan, it was probably valued around $10, but at Pokemon Worlds, it was going for $25 because obviously at Worlds it's just value more. We're in the US. You can't find it everywhere.
Right.
So in that little area, all the Japanese player had the bargaining chip, which was it was a very interesting environment where there was stuff that people value, and I was able to make so many awesome card trades with Chinese player, Taiwanese players, Singaporean players, Latin American players. It was just a fun experience.
I wish I hung out more at the trade. Yeah, I guess when you were over at the trade
area,
at the
Pokemon Center,
I was in line at the Pokemon Center.
Which is both valuable experierices. I'm not going to say one is better or worse.
And then I mean, obviously the next day, like on Saturday, I probably could have spent my whole day at the trade center or the trading area with you. But then obviously I had to go back for a front row card show. So I only really had the experience of going to the Pokemon Center. And then I got inside and was basically like, got to look around at
the Pokemon Museum was great. The art from Black and White was fantastic. Once you see some of the arts blew up into like full size, I saw some of those art, the Joltik I took a photo of just because I was like, dude, I would frame this in my house.
Was that something that you had suggested from the because I don't think Pokemon has ever done that before, where they show the original like paintings or the artworks by the artists. That's something I feel like they got. Well, it's not like they had to have gotten it from, but maybe they were inspired by, or maybe they just did it. But I know for the first One Piece Nationals, that was a big hit at One Piece Nationals, where they had original artwork from the manga, like that people could get, like if you weren't playing in the tournaments, that you could just go and look through. And then they had stuff behind bulletproof glass that was like original hand notes from like Oda, like from his original first print copy of like some of the panels that he would draw. And I think Pokemon must have access to a lot of that like OG artwork or just like the history of how Pokemon cards get made. And it'd be cool if they really expanded that sort of art section, because I thought it was honestly kind of small for how big Pokemon is.
Yeah, because it was just a black and white museum exhibit.
Right.
It was very cool, but I absolutely agree. I would have been loved to see a walk through the Pokemon TCG history. Like, imagine if they did base, and then you could see like Neo and all these other series. It would have been gorgeous to see some of these like small card art pieces fully blown up, and I could see like, wow, like these are like paintings.
They did that with like the Game Boys and the world exclusive cards, in the sense that there was that, remember that like kind of row where you would just, it started with the original Game Boy and it showed like red and blue.
Yeah, I did see that.
And then there was just podium to podium, you could see how the games evolved with each Nintendo Entertainment System. And I thought that was really cool. And it's kind of like, like if you went to a Nintendo museum or a Pokemon museum in the future, this would be like what people would look at and be like, oh my gosh, back in the 1900s, people, you had to play on a Game Boy that was run off of something called batteries. And little future kids would be like, what's a battery, Dad? And then you'd have to like explain to them, it charges energy, you fool. And then, you know, it's kind of like a window into history. And I feel like they did that for the Pokemon cards as well for Worlds. Like you could see the first ever one they printed where they always include like a Psyduck in the artwork, and the plushies, right? Did you see the 2013 Pikachu plushie?
Yeah, they showed all the different plushies from all the different worlds.
Yeah, like the exclusive plushie. So this one, guys, like this is the Anaheim 2025 one. And then it's so wild because some of the older ones, I'm like, oh, I've never even seen that before. Yeah. So I'm sure people that bought those, and if they still have it in good condition,
there's a market out there for older vintage plushies. Like, the vintage plushies market's pretty wild too.
I know there's a girl on TikTok, Mew is she has like an insane vintage plushie. Like she has like almost everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like half the museum should just be her house basically.
Yeah. I will say that if I had one critique, and we already kind of knew about this, was that basically it is a Pokemon World Championship, which is you're there to watch people battle and play versus each other to be the best of the best. Yeah. And if you're there for the smaller side events, like what we are currently talking about, there's less of that. You could honestly walk through all of it in an hour. There really isn't that much going on. And really, it's just us interacting with other collectors or other Pokemon fans that really make it awesome. And I think that's what they're improving on in the next Pokemon Worlds in San Francisco, your hometown. Yeah. Honestly, it's because of the Pokemon XP experience. Have you seen that?
Oh, the XP. I saw some.
So it's an announcement.
Yeah, tell the people about
basically, they are still doing the Pokemon World Championship, but during the exact same weekend, they are creating the Pokemon XP, which is a Pokemon convention, like a true convention with panels, events, side activities, and exactly what you can expect from a true Pokemon convention. So it's a little bit of the best of both worlds. If you want to go there to see the battles and play the games and play the CCG and do all that, the Pokemon World Championship is still happening, but this is going to be catered to more of the generic fans, I guess, like someone that's not as competitive, but they still want to experience everything and just enjoy the love of Pokemon, which is what we were saying, like Pokemon World Championship was just kind of missing, was a little bit more of that, which if they're expanding on that, then kudos to them, because that's exactly what we need.
And I think that's just the growth of any game. Like if you imagine the first Worlds tournament they ever had, who the general fans or, you know, your generic fans of the game, it's kind of funny. Pokemon has just evolved so much from just a TCG that there's probably more people that go to Worlds that don't care to even watch the quarterfinals, the semifinals, the finals of the video game or the card game or Pokemon Unite. But they had a whole stadium set up where I saw people sitting in the stadium watching these finals take place.
Oh yeah, the arena was packed. They sold out of the whole entire arena.
I was going to say there was a lot of people there. And like I could see some holes in the audience. Like I do remember that from the last Pokemon like a big tournament that I ever played in, where I was like, oh, how come there's not like a lot of people invested in actually how the finals turns out? And it's just because people are just fans of the cards, even without the competitive TCG part attached to it. And I kind of see that with like for One Piece, you had so many players for the first ever nationals where Dude, there was like an electric energy. That was the one I played in. So
I was there.
Right.
I was there.
Yeah. And I was invested in how it was going to turn out. And every seat had a button in it. Like it was filled and then people were standing. And then by the second nationals, it was like less of that because there's more people that are there for they're just fans of One Piece and even
they were just excited for the venue and the energy and the vibe.
Right.
You're right.
And so, and I would say this, Bandai does a good job of throwing other things that like other people that we would call the maybe generic fans, not the best word, but just like not so completely locked in for the competitive element. And
casual fans is just a thing, and it's
casual. Yes, it's not
what
like
the vast
bad
majority
thing,
of fans are.
Right,
they're casual fans.
That's true. So the idea for all these companies, especially for Pokemon being almost 30 years old now, is they do need to start focusing on like these huge tournaments for the players. They want that to be as best as possible because ultimately at Worlds, like what the number one goal should be is to cater to those players. This is their final tournament where the best people from America play the best people in South America and Europe and Asia, like everyone coming together, right? Like that should be epic. And they need to make that as epic as possible and then have these cool, epic, kind of casual things to do on the side so that while people are competing, other people attending Worlds can do all this other cool stuff. And if that means put up like a cool kind of art museum or art exhibit, like have other interactive things. Like, they have side events, which is really cool. And I saw a lot of people playing in side events because then you can earn like prize tickets and, play for old like Worlds merch and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw those too.
But I will say, a lot of people I talked to said they couldn't get into a lot of side events. Like they just filled up instantaneously.
Yeah. So I think this is actually good that they're expanding the total venue and all the different activities. Is that there is not a ton of things to do now. So people kind of are forced into certain activities because there isn't enough to spread around. Is that, hey, you got to go to the side events because if you don't go to the side events, are you going to trade all day with other collectors? Are you just going to do pin trading? Pin trading was actually a ton of fun, but there's only so many current activities right now, and there's so much more that can be expanded on because there's just a lot that people like about Pokemon, Yeah. And I'm glad that they're expanding the experience. Like more is good. Like we're just gonna say that. So I'm gonna generally say my final consensus on Pokemon Worlds is it was a very positive experience. It was better than the Honolulu one, and it was actually my most fun I've had at Pokemon Worlds. So I'm very happy with the experience overall.
I also give it like a super overwhelmingly positive experience. I didn't go to Honolulu World, so I don't have that comparison to compare it to, but I enjoyed my time there. I only got to go for like around half the time, and I still like had fun, getting the exclusive merch with friends, seeing all the like different exhibits, going through and like just, I think it also just does a good job of facilitating like a lot of, I mean, it's the same reason why Card Party is also good and why, Pat made Card Party. Yeah. Like you get all of the Pokemon content creators like together. I always meet like new people that maybe I've like seen them online, and we've like talked and we're, friendly over the internet. But then when you finally get to meet in person, you're like, oh my gosh, it's like, you're already like fast friends. And
the amount of new content creators that I've known for a long time that I met for the first time at this Worlds was a lot actually.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give a shout out to some, like I met Mystic 7.
Who'd you run into?
Purple Cliff. I met one of your friends, Danny Rion, there.
Oh yeah, Danny. I didn't even get to physically see Danny in person.
I met her during dinner. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Rob's
she's
currently
awesome.
in line at the Pokemon Center.
That
was the only reason you weren't at dinner with us.
She texted me, and I remember you were like gonna give me a ride there, and well, it was so funny because I thought I remember I told you like, hey, wait for me for 10 minutes, because when you're out of the you get all your stuff and you're in the line, and you're like, oh, I think this is the checkout line, but then you turn, they funnel you to a corner, and then you just go to another line. Yeah. So I was in that first part. I was like, Jake, I'm almost done. I think checkout should just be right here. I was at the front. Yeah. So just wait for me for 10 minutes. And then Danny was texting me, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make it. And then I turned the corner, and then there was just another half-mile long line, and I was like, oh.
So since you brought that up, I'll tell you. So my wife went to the Pokemon Center as well. Her reservation time was 3:45. We were supposed to have have dinner with my sister at 6 p.m. and she did not leave. My wife did not leave the Pokemon Center checkout until 9 p.m. Her reservation time was 3:45 and she didn't leave until 9 p.m. So when you said, "Oh, you're in line at the Pokemon Center," I was like, "Oh, he's got no shot of making it."
Well, once I went through it once, then I was like, "Oh, I understand that it's like there's always another line."
Yeah.
And then like, okay, so then the second time, and it did go much faster later, where I was like, there was another time where I went with some homies and
I saw the same thing. Was that like the first time you go through the Pokemon Center,
it's the
like
longest.
It's the longest. But if you go later, and that's possible because people can make like reservations and bring in guests, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So technically, you could go again into the Pokemon Center. It's like going to Disneyland and riding a ride twice. The second ride is just a little bit more easier on you, I guess.
Yeah, you just find a way. Well, I think everyone knows. I think it's like with anything. The first time for everyone means it's the first time experiencing stuff, the first time they want to take pictures. Everyone's moving a little slower. Everyone's taking in the information slower. Then later, everyone's kind of seen everything. Everyone moves a little quicker. So the whole process just becomes a little quicker.
Yeah. Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor.
Kanto Shark. Guys, Kanto Shark is the best place online to find some of your hottest Pokemon items, whether it's sealed, old school vintage booster boxes, PSA 10 and BGS 10 grails. You can find it all on Kanto Shark.
Guys, Kanto Shark is an amazing, credible source for the best grail cards in the hobby right now. They recently sold a first edition Blastoise BGS 9 for over $5,000. They recently sold an Entei Gold Star for over $5,000. They sold a Charizard Reverse Foil Holo from Crystal Guardians for over $15,000 PSA 10, and they also recently sold a Shining Mewtwo First Edition PSA 10 for over $10,000.
Guys, on Kanto Shark right now, you can literally buy 258 graded Pikachus. That's mint, and most of them are gem mint. The first year of Pikachu cards all the way through the 25th anniversary. Every single Pikachu graded for $175,000. There's also a near complete EX Team Rocket PSA 10 set for $70,000. If you're trying to sell your high-end Pokemon stuff, Kanto Shark actually has the best consignment fee for sellers, especially if you're selling your high-end grails. From $5,000 to $25,000, it's an 8% fee. From $25,000 to $500,000, it's a 5% fee. And for any item that sells for over $500,000 or more, it's just a 3% fee, which means you as the seller get to retain the most amount of money for your sold grails.
Kanto Shark is still the easiest and best consignment service currently in the hobby. You can easily DM them anytime on Instagram with the products that you have available, a couple of photos, and they'll get back to you immediately on the best consultation. You can reach them out also on their website, KantoShark.com. They are a fantastic service. They pay out every single Friday. That means if your consignment sells on Thursday, you get paid the very next day.
So thank you to Kanto Shark and the whole Kanto Shark team for sponsoring this episode of the Card Lounge podcast.
It was a ton of fun. Do you want to talk about who won the VGC and TCG before we leave Worlds for now?
You might have the info on the VGC. So I saw, even though I wasn't there to watch the finals take place, I know for the 2025 World Champion, it was Canada. Canada took it. So shout outs to Danny and her whole country. Riley McKay he was the champion. Riley McKay from Canada with his Gardevoir EX deck.
I did hear that one was a very strong deck. And for the VGC, we have, and I don't want to butcher the name, but Giovanni Schiski. And I actually saw his winning team, and it was a bunch of Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. He was running Koraidon, as well as a bunch of Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. So the winning team from Scarlet and Violet had 4 Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet, which I thought was very fitting. I thought it was cool.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because it's like as they create new games, they do try to make sure the legendaries are, because they don't want just every year, it's like, oh, a Charizard or Incineroar is always what you need on your team to, win the video game tournament.
So typically for the video games, every single year they add more Pokemons to it and escalate the amount of legendaries you can have on your team. So for the final round of Scarlet and Violet, it's almost like no holds bar. This is the best of the best. Like you can play a bunch of different legendaries and truly push the power levels of the games. But yes, typically there's a power creep where the new legendaries of any series is usually some of the more more popular ones because they do want you to use the top Pokemon from that
set. Yeah, and I found it was interesting. There was like a video that went viral for TCG where I think it was in, I don't know if it was like semifinals, quarterfinals. Like I know it was like higher up in the final bracket where someone was playing a Dragapult EX deck, and the player prized 3 out of his 4 Dragapults.
Right.
And it was funny because someone put it to the trending like, oh, it's a Jet 2 holiday, like when stuff goes like awry, and that person still ended up winning their match, which just goes to show like
these are skilled and talented players.
The skill these top level players have from across the world, like you are really playing the best of the best of the best.
So if you actually were there in the arena at the finals for the TCG, right?
Did you sit in the arena?
No, I was not in the arena because I had to join you for Front Row Card Show.
Oh, okay, sure.
But I saw the clips of it, and ultimately, it was almost like a true Yu-Gi-Oh! Battle arena, where as they were playing the game, the whole entire arena would light up with what cards that they were playing, and it was all animated, so it felt like you were in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Match where you could summon monsters and it would appear.
No, wait, what do you mean, like giant projections of Pokemon?
They didn't project the Pokemons, but the cards would actually slide onto the screen, and everyone could see it enlarged. Like, you're not looking at a tiny card from across the whole entire arena,
Right.
So you could see everything really clearly.
And are the players in the middle of the arena playing?
Oh yeah.
They should, dude. And Pokemon has the money for this. I mean, they're the most highest media grossing franchise in the world. Like, if they could make it where it was like Yu-Gi-Oh, where as someone throws down Dragapult, a giant like Dragapult EX like comes up from behind, and it can all be augmented reality.
Honestly, we're getting close to there.
And that's my point. That's why it's like people are so under I think it's so funny in the comments when people think like I'm what do they say? Even though I'm like the opposite, they say I'm so bullish on Pokemon, but it's like if you look at things, just expand your mind to like the grand scope of things. The fact that augmented reality and just like any sort of like virtual reality that they could infuse later, where you really start to see the Pokemon come to life, will just make these battles, make these events 10 times more entertaining. Like when someone swings to do an attack, you see the Dragapult attack a Charizard, and it feels like very like visually stunning and real. Pokemon popularity is gonna like 8x, and like more people will get into collecting cards. Like it's got to be to the point where during your every normal day-to-day conversation, you're walking by people, you're talking about a Pokemon card thing the way that most people talk about, like, hey, did you see that last episode of Game of Thrones or something like that?
Yo, did you see that latest battle last night? Like, it's literally Yu-Gi-Oh! Style, where the winners of these tournaments are celebrities. Like,
yeah, exactly. So the fact that we're not even there yet, and we're not even implementing like the AR or VR technology yet, just shows how much more room Pokemon has to really like scale.
Yeah, I believe it. I can see it. Like it's part of a prediction. Like who knows what could happen, but I can see it. And talking about what's coming out next in the Pokemon TCG, did you see the new sketch art style where they're bringing back the XY era ultimate names for all of them?
Let's talk about it. I mean, okay, so I do like that the mega thing that they do with megas is whatever the attack is, like on the Japanese card, in the artwork, they have the English attack name. And then on the English card, they have the Japanese attack name. I don't know if I like the more cartoonish style they did. I wish they kept the style of the old megas. So if you had all the old XY megas, you could have that collection and it would match very well with the style of this new collection of this new set.
So that's exactly right, is that when I revealed the art for my viewers, right, the opinion was very mixed. Was like, oh, some people hated it immediately and some people loved it. I was very in the middle. As soon as I saw them, the first thing I thought was, oh, these are different. And that's what I'll say. These arts are different. And I think I am actually okay with that. I like that they are different. And that's the way the Pokemon company should do things, is that the TCG should evolve and change. And I'm okay with that. They do look different, and I'm okay with that. I don't know if I like them yet. I don't know. I don't think I dislike them. I don't know if I love them.
We got to see them in person, because the texture and how the light plays off them could make a big difference.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this, is that for the TCG specifically, whenever there's something new, it feels kind of like eating broccoli. Like, people usually stand off it a little bit, where like, oh, I don't like this new. I kind of like the old, you know? And it grows on you. It does. If you open up these cards for 3 years straight, it's hard not to be like, oh, you guys, you got me again with the mega pulls. I got you.
Well, people just don't like change. I mean, people all hated Scarlet Violet when it came out.
And I remember
look at how much everyone
when Scarlet and Violet base
Scarlet
came
Violet
out, people were like, yo, like, these illustration rares are
this
just not hitting it with
this
me.
whole block is done for. There's gonna be nothing in this set that's as good as like Sword and Shield stuff. And,
so they're still doing special illustration rares. They're still doing all the old chases. They're just adding another style art, which is a callback to the original ones, which is they're calling these mega art rares. So they're specifically mega illustration rare or new art rares specifically for the mega sets, which I'm cool with. They look nice. They're different, and I'm okay with that. They should stand out, and maybe they'll grow on me, and maybe they won't grow on me, and that's okay too.
What's interesting is, so what I didn't get about it though is there was also a leak for the Charizard Mega Art Rare. You made a video on it. I still need to make a video on it. I'll do that probably after this podcast. But it was like the SIR of the Mega. But what's weird is, look at Mega Brave and Mega Symphonia, right? We have what a Mega Lucario looks like and a Mega Gardevoir. Old school Megas from X and Y, even in the regular just square artwork, it would include the Japanese name title in it. Remember that? And then in the full art, it would also have the Japanese name title. And if you go look at the Japanese cards, they have the English name title. So it's kind of like they didn't include the name title in the artwork for the regular artwork. But then the Mega Lucario fighting the Venusaur is that's the SIR of the Mega Lucario, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then they have a Mega Ultra Rare or Mega Art Rare of the Mega Lucario, where now they have the name title. So is there also going to be another special illustration rare of Mega Lucario? Because that Charizard is the SIR. Is that SIR going to be, I guess what I'm saying is that equivalent of the Mega Lucario fighting the Venusaur, like that artwork? Or is there going to be a second SIR that they do off the Mega Art Rare card?
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. It is confusing, and I'm going to try to break it down. And this is how I see it. It might change, but there's currently 5 versions of every single one of these big chases.
What the heck?
All right, there's a normal ultra rare version.
Right, the normal ultra rare.
The full art rare, where it's going to be like a silhouette of regular Charizard.
And those do look nice.
Yeah,
the silhouette.
So that's 2 versions.
Okay, that's 2.
The third version is the Mega Art Rare, which has the giant attack in Japanese.
Okay.
So that's 3. The 4th version is going to be the Special Illustration Rare. The Special Illustration Rare version is a unique art style. It can be any kind of art piece you could think of. It's based on the artist. They have some more creative freedom.
How they want
and they don't have the giant text attack on it.
Right. And they don't need to have that in the Special Illustration Rare.
Correct.
Right.
And then the final version is the Mega Ultra Rare. So Mega Art Rare and Mega Ultra Rare. Mega Art Rare specifically has the Japanese attack. Mega Ultra Rare is the gold version, the super, super big chase card.
Oh, the gold, right. Oh my gosh.
So it gets pretty convoluted very quickly.
So there's the regular Gardevoir, the Ultra Rare.
Yep.
There's that full art of it.
Yep.
There's the alt art of it, which we've already seen in Mega Symphonia.
Yes.
Then the gold version of it, which we see and it looks nice.
Yes.
I've not
and they're adding a 5th
yet.
version,
and
which is Japanese attack.
The Mega
or
attack.
the English attack if it's in Japanese.
Right. The attack, which is kind of the callback to how they did Megas, the alt arts for the Megas before we had like official
because
alt
I remember
arts.
when Mega Evolution, Mega Brave, and Mega Symphonia was revealed, one of the things that people commented on was, oh, I'm disappointed that we don't get to see the old attacks on the cards, which was just cool. And so they're specifically making these Mega Art Rare, which is why they're called Art Rare, Mega Art Rare, because they're specifically just a callback card. So if you want those old chases, you have a new version. And I'm going to tell you, I kind of like them because honestly, they're kind of like the Sports Kaboom or something where it's super gimmicky or tacky. Yeah. But they kind of grow on you.
I like that too. I guess in a way, this is kind of for the collectors.
Yes, it is a collector card.
I mean, what's weird is do we think it's a lot to have 5 different chase variations for one single card?
It is. That is pushing it a little bit. It is a lot. You could go even 1 tier higher, which is, I don't know, like a numbered version, like a really, really crazy chase. Yeah. But like this is already too much. You're right. It is a little bit convoluted. This is the most versions they've ever done. And it's very specific. They're only doing this for the top mascots of sets. So they're only doing this for Lucario, Gardevoir, Gengar, and Charizard are the 4s that we know so far. The 5th and 6th one's probably going to be the Rayquaza and another Pokemon.
Oh,
but they're only
Rayquaza.
Doing this, but only these top chase card will have a gold mega ultra rare version. They're only doing 2 cards inside of every single English sets.
2 gold. Okay, what about for the text, which we're calling the mega art rare, right?
Those I think will be available for every Pokemon.
Right, because the if you go back to XY, they had like mega Sharpedo and mega Ampharos.
Right.
And I liked how those looked. The texture, man, it's so funny because I remember a year or 2 ago in Sword and Shield, those XY megas were so cheap. And I remember thinking, these are kind of cool looking cards. And if I had just spent the time to pick those up, but I was distracted by the Moonbryon and current like modern stuff. And it's like going back now and now we see people scooping them. Now we see the prices going up. I see a lot of people talking about how, oh, the prices are manipulated. Why are the prices going up so high for these?
I got a great one for you.
It's really not. I mean, there could be some market, quote unquote, market manipulation, but is it market manipulation or is it just really the market understanding how rare and how hard those old megas are to hit, especially in a 10, and the price kind of the price gap catching up to the reality of the popularity of the situation.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is that yes, for a spark or a flash in the pan, demand can outweigh supply, but eventually that supply is always going to come back and be like, hey, how rare is this card truly? And that ends up mattering. Is that some of these old cards that people just didn't think were that cool back in the day are now really, really hot just because there's so few of them in certain conditions. And we brought up this example literally 2 or 3 episodes ago, and you're going to remember this one. We compared a Great Felt Hat Pikachu PSA 10 to a Bubble Mew PSA 10. And we said, hey, these 2 cards are the exact same price.
Oh, yeah.
Which one would we prefer? And you're like, oh, I know where you're going with this example. We would want the Bubble Mew because it's way rarer and it's kind of cooler and way more limited in terms of the quantity. And you know what happened? The Bubble Mew right now is going for $2,000.
In a 10?
Yes. In a 10, the Bubble Mew has jumped to $2,000, which actually makes sense because it's significantly more rare. So as soon as we mention it, we're like, hey, in this scenario, the Bubble Mew is the underrated of the 2, and then so it popped off.
Is the Japanese one also that? The Japanese one's less, but the English one in a 10 is $2,000.
Yeah, yes,
dude, I know
$2,000 in
has
PSA 10.
So many of those. People were scooping up 10s at like $300 or $350 per.
Hopefully they haven't sold them. So that's the thing, is that sometimes when a card jumps from $300 to $1,000, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to cash out. But it's still underrated even at $1,000. Yeah,
dude, there's a buddy of mine, he vends, named Full Odds. He just was like, he called the like Bubble Mew, it was like his favorite card, and he's got so many. I'm sure he's sold some, but it's helped his collection and his business grow, and I'm sure he's still got, I don't know, like 30 or 40 under his belt at least, which is insane.
I did an investment tier list video like 3 months ago for the memes of it, and I put the Bubble Mew in A tier. It was like very, very highly rated because I thought it was a super cool card, and it makes sense. So that's why we brought out that exact example, and I kind of wanted to talk about this card because I was surprised to see it at our podcast studio because I got it graded. 10
this isn't the one you gave me. So that one got a 9. What's funny is I forgot we had sent this in. So a long time ago, I think it was at a Collecticon, because this was probably, we waited a bit and then we sent this in, like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
I had the option, I was working out a deal with a vendor, and I was up on the trade. I can't even remember what cards like we were exchanging, but he had to throw in a little bit more value. And he was like, hey, to cover the distance, I'll just give you a raw gray felt hat. And I think he had a bunch, like we always say when we see vendors, there was a bunch. So I was like, can I pick one out? I tried to pick one out that had really good centering, and we just sent it in. And so now I got a 10 of it.
Dude,
and I remember us talking about like, I don't think I would buy this, but I got this raw when it was probably a lot cheaper. Yeah. And then I graded it, and now it's a 10, and now it's like, what is this now? Is this $2,000? This isn't $2,000.
No. It's still going for right around 1,000. But congratulations, you're one of like 50,000 people that have.
I know, right? And is that good? Yeah. But now I'm like, okay, this is my personal one.
No, it's cool. I think it's cool.
Now I don't need to, go try to buy one at least.
Yeah.
For
when I walked into
$1,000.
the podcast studio today, and we were filming an episode today, obviously, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, Rob got one.
I knew you'd want to put it up, which is why I put it here, because I was like, you know what? I'm glad I have one in a 10.
Because we keep talking about it in every single episode. We got to have one on eventually.
I'm sure you'll get one in a 10 eventually. This would be kind of cool that, like, you know what? It's kind of interesting that they didn't have any, not to like bring back up the Worlds merch stuff, but I also remember from previous kind of Worlds or even the NAICs, which is the North American International Championships, for those that don't know, the amount of merch that they would sometimes have from previous events. It's almost like Pokemon is so popular now, they're sold out of it all. Yeah. So like I remember 2, 3, 4 years ago, it's almost like stuff is left over. I mean, I guess as a general sentiment, you could even talk about Walmarts and Targets. Remember when you could go in and find Shining Fates ETBs on the shelves and be like, oh, these were printed a year ago. And people are like, oh, are these reprinted? It's like, no, these have just been sitting on the Walmart shelf for a year's time where no one has gone and grabbed it. And I think new collectors coming in today, they can't even they can't even fathom Pokemon product sitting on a shelf that long, because no one sees Pokemon product on a shelf for even a day anymore.
Honestly, we should have predicted this. I'll tell you, and this is going to go into like your side of like the argument.
But the velocity is different now.
But here's the thing. Honestly, a lot of people should have predicted that this would happen. Is 10 or 15 years ago, what became really popular was Disney adults. And that's because all the Disney kids grew up and became adults, and they became Disney adults. So Disneyland became incredibly popular, and Disney merch became very popular. But now we're seeing Pokemon adults, because we're just a step behind in terms of the age of it. Because Disney is an older franchise.
Disney came out, right, like 84, 85. Pokemon came out 89, 90s. Yeah.
And now we're seeing all the Pokemon adults growing up, which is not a term that exists, and I don't want to coin it to be a thing.
Yeah, don't make that a thing.
Pokemon adults, we're making it happen. But basically now that's what a lot of collectors are, is that they're just fans who are in like their early 20s to 30s to 40s. And now we have way more money. Yeah, and so that's what's flooding the Pokemon World Championship. There's still tons of kids going to these events. Trust me, I've seen a ton of kids. They were rushing me for pins at the Pokemon World Championship. But still, it's a lot of Pokemon adults, which is why it's getting so incredibly popular. And this is just starting, is because people are now moving into that adult age with income, right? So we're just a step behind Disney, and it makes total sense once you think about it.
Yeah. To your point, I guess I did kind of like predict this without like making a hard line prediction, but I have always
makes sense,
right? It's like not being bullish on it. I'm not treating it like it's a thing of stock or money to invest in it, but the idea of why the popularity would, if you could have I guess like metaphorically compared it to Disney, and if you watch the trend of how Disney merch and Disney
how
prices
Disney
of
kids from the 80s grew up and like, wanted to experience it.
Right. And the fact that even a coined term of Disney adults was created. Why wouldn't Pokemon, also being one of the most popular, if not the most popular thing from the 90s, also experience some sort of like surge right about now as well? I mean, it was the most viral thing when we were a kid, before the term viral was even created. And that was before the internet. Like, that was how you talked to other kids. I remember that. Like, there's no social media, no internet. You don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. But like, if you went to soccer and like you're talking soccer practice or little league or whatever, and you're meeting new kids for the first time, and like, you don't go to the same school as them. So it's like, what do you talk about? You talked about what you watched on TV, and that's why we all talked about Power Rangers, Pokemon, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then you talk about, oh, like, do you play the game? But like, do you play Pokemon, or do you have Pokemon cards? Hey, let's trade cards. And like, that was it. That was like social media back then. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And it makes total sense. That's why we're bringing it up, is that literally the Pokemon company was there to catch all of us, though. Like there's some things that aren't. Well, basically, there's other franchises that died off because they no longer exist. But because the Pokemon company is still around and they're still doing their thing, and now we can just go back to it. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. I would love this as a kid. So now it's just stuff that you could enjoy and you can enjoy again. But it's not. It doesn't mean like every trend from the '90s come back, right? Specifically, Pokemon is still around and they're just way cooler, so that's why they're there now, and it's in the right space at the right time.
This actually, and hopefully we can get Jeremy Padawer, if you're listening to this, like we'd love to have you on the podcast. But I remember when he made like some Instagram post about how like the majority of people that spend on even like toys coming up now is like adults with money.
Yeah.
So even in a very generic sense, you can see how like action figures and things that we all loved as kids, I just brought up Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
You are seeing a resurgence in merchandise for those IPs as well.
That's popping off.
Yeah, like anything
toys
that
is
was
popping
super
off,
popular.
TCG is popping off.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the older IPs are starting to like really come back. Legos
Hot Wheels
are hot again.
Legos, just adults building Legos. They build sets now, not just for kids, but for adults that are even more complicated to be like, hey, if you're an adult, you can enjoy Legos too. In fact, Beyblades I see is even like becoming like a thing again, where it's like, I guess it's always been way smaller than most TCGs, but they're like, you can go to TCG stores now, and if they carry Beyblades, they have like a Beyblade tournament night.
Oh yeah, I've been to Beyblade tournament nights, and I'll tell you, it gets noisy. You can hear it, like the rattling of everyone cheering and battling, and I hear it's a ton of fun. So I kind of want to try it out sometimes.
It would be interesting to go.
We're seeing so many of that, like Stanley Cups, Labubus, Squishmallows, like all these items that are just random, but like they're kind of in that kind of same ethos. They're kind of popping up, and it's all like adults collecting or buying all of these items to collect. It's just like in that same kind of sphere. So it's interesting to see how some of these things pop off.
And ultimately, you really just need the adults to, like, what's funny is even if you didn't have a single new person introduced to the Pokemon hobby, it's the fact that there are enough Pokemon adults that if they are collecting, or they're collecting with friends or their significant other, if they have kids and they just raise these kids to also enjoy their own hobby, the kids will grow up with a love of Pokemon, eventually collect cards, care for their cards as middle schoolers, maybe even teenagers. Now, kids go through puberty, and then like they're going to be interested in other things besides cards. They might fall off. But I will say, I think a lot of why we got out of the game was because Pokemon, or why anyone did, was like Pokemon was seen as like childish. It didn't have the longevity that it has now. And there was also a stigma on nerdy things. Oh my God, we haven't even talked about the biggest sort of explosion in just anime in general. So we talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or these shows or Power Rangers or toys. Anime, when you were a kid and you talked about like Dragon Ball Z.
It was Toonami or nothing.
Right,
almost.
Toonami or nothing. People would make fun of you. People were like, oh, you're a nerd, you're a geek, whatever. Now, anime is becoming more mainstream.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love that I can go to see Demon Slayer the movie in theater.
Dude.
In American theater.
In an American theater, and people are like, it's not a made fun of thing. Like people can like publicly voice, oh, I'm going to go see the Demon Slayer movie. And people are like, oh yeah, that's cool. That actually looks pretty fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's fun too, because back in the day, and I'll tell you this is completely true, but 8 years ago or 9 years ago, you said like, hey man, I collect Pokemon cards. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like you got base set Charizard?
Yeah.
You still like, but nowadays, if you like had a casual conversation and you say, hey man, I collect Pokemon cards, like everyone's like, oh neat. How's that going? Like it's just normal casual conversation now.
Right. You can talk about it. And I think also it's even a step beyond that, where a stranger that doesn't know anything about Pokemon, what they'll at least know is they're not going to judge you or think less of you, because you'll say like, oh, I'm collecting Pokemon cards. They'll be like, oh, like Pokemon cards? Like, oh yeah, I've heard that those still have value if you like held on to older ones. And it's like, oh, what's your collection, worth or something like that. And even though a lot of people attribute it to money, I think you can either engage in that conversation and say, oh, my collection's worth like this amount of money. And they'll go, oh my God, that's impressive. Like this is you gained that much money by just collecting, and it's like, yeah, that's why Pokemon's pretty cool. Or if you're like, you don't even have to collect for money. You could just have the conversation of being like, oh, I just like collecting. I master set like these sets, or I have like one of every this of this type of rarity. And like, I think the general consensus of people, even if they don't understand Pokemon at all, would be like, wow, that's pretty neat, as opposed to saying something rude to you or something.
Yeah. And I've actually been there. Is that exact conversation has happened to me before, and it plays out very similarly. The one other thing I'll add is that they'll usually say, oh, I think I have some cards back at home.
They always say that.
Let me know what you think about them. Like, can you take a look at some of my cards?
I think I have an old base set binder. It's probably worth like $20,000. And then you look at it and you're
like, yeah, you got some treasure here. You got a Zubat, I think.
Yeah. They have like jungle commons, or like they have a bunch of the non-holo rares, and you're like, unfortunately, this isn't worth like what you think it is.
It's still cool though. Yeah,
it's still cool though. It's probably worth something, but it's also like I think a lot of people that have those older collections, or for any of us,
they think they're sitting on a gold mine.
Well, right, and they just didn't take care of their stuff when we were kids, because no one did, and that's also why PSA 10s and BGS 10s are what they go for, because the higher rarity stuff or more pristine stuff is going to be the rare thing, because so many people didn't take care of their cards.
Absolutely. Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor,
Collectr. This episode of the Card Lounge podcast is sponsored by Collectr, the #1 collecting app.
Collectr is the official trading card tracking app of the Card Lounge podcast. Both Rob and I have been using Collectr constantly to track our whole entire collection. I can't stop looking at it because the prices on cards right now are absolutely wild. People have seen it. Prices are going up and down. And if you're currently tracking your Pokemon card prices on a spreadsheet, guys, you are so far behind the time. You have it in the palm of your hand.
Right. Everyone's already on their phone anyway. It makes it so easy to share and look up updates. It's kind of funny, dude. I just went to my closet and found some stuff that I wasn't tracking anywhere. I used to put stuff on a spreadsheet, but we're so busy now, and it's like I can never have time to update things constantly. I added that stuff to the Collectr app, and then my collection went up like another like $20,000.
Yeah, that's absolutely the power of Collectr, is that a lot of times, even if you don't know the card you're looking at, the Collectr app has a scanning feature where you can just check out your card through a camera, and they will tell you what card you have.
Yeah, it just makes it easier also on you guys. Like, it gives you peace of mind to let you know what your collection is valued at. You might not know like when your collection goes up 10 grand. You might not know when it drops like 5 grand. Maybe you would like to have this kind of information, and that might let you know when you should sell some stuff, buy some stuff, all these cards in your collection, plus even the sealed product that you guys, collect and maybe store away for years or, a certain amount of time. You can always track it all on Collectr.
Yeah, and I actually have some cards that I have favorited on Collectr so that if they ever drop down, I'm currently watching them so that if they fall down to the right price, I'll know when to scoop them up. And if you don't want to just collect Pokemon cards and you're currently collecting Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, or any other trading card game, you can track it all right now on the Collectr app, bundle your whole entire collection, and know what your collection's value is currently worth.
Yeah. I like the fact that you can see the combined collection value, and you can also separate between categories. So I know like what my Pokemon collection is worth, and then what my One Piece slabs are worth as well.
That's right. And you can also separate it by sets too. If you're someone that's a completionist and want to know exactly what cards you're missing from certain sets, Collectr is also great for that. So definitely check them out. They are a fantastic tool, whether you're the first time collector, someone that's just started a couple weeks ago, or if you're someone that's been inside of the hobby for the past 10 years, Collectr has something for you. Check them out today. They are available for download on Android and iOS.
Thank you to Collectr for sponsoring today's episode of the Card Lounge podcast.
So right after Pokemon Worlds, right, you and I both tagged up at Front Row Card Show. You had to go to Front Row Card Show a little bit earlier to set up the Card Lounge, the Card Lounge booth and all that. Yeah. And I joined you on Sunday for the second day, and it was a lot of fun. And the most interesting thing that happened in Front Row was I was walking around the convention, and I saw people wearing Card Lounge merch. So
nice.
I saw Card Lounge podcast on a couple of fans' shirts, and I said hi to them, and we took a couple of photos. But it's kind of interesting. I've never had the experience of like, whoa, you're wearing my brand. I've never had that occur in my life before, where someone is wearing my merch.
Shout out to Gravy Designs. Yeah, so we got the shirts up. I know. Oh, we still need to show up the shirts, and I know we got a lot when we first showed the shirts on an episode.
Yeah,
a lot of people are like, "Where can I get these?" So we need to figure out to just put, I guess I could just put them on my website. If
however you want to do it.
And then they can just buy them from there. So
the shirts are cool. You won't look like a total nerd wearing one.
They're really nice shirts, guys. So we could have opted for like the cheap shirts that you just buy for like $20 that are just on some like.
They're super comfortable. You can wear them any day.
Shirts that would be like dilapidated after like 3 or 5 washes. Like we got the shirts that are like the premium, good quality. The logo's not gonna like wash out after a while. And they're really cool. So if you want to support Card Lounge, go buy a shirt. We'll put something in the description on how to get them if you want to purchase one to support us and support the podcast. So with setting up for the whole show, and we had people come day one while you were still at Worlds, wanting to take photos. A lot of people were like, "Oh, where's Jake?" And I was like, "Oh, he'll be here tomorrow." I wish we both could have been at the like. It was weird because I had to like I got like an injury on my leg for Sunday morning, but then later in the day we did a lot of just like buy, sells, trades. People were asking about the shirts, and I thought Front Row was like overall just like an amazing show and like a successful show.
Nice. Was it a significant step up from like the Las Vegas car show in terms of your general experience of how good you are as a vendor? Not saying the show is any better or worse, but did you feel more at home vending a show?
Yes, I did, because like as you do more and more, I think you just get better at it. I don't see how people could do this like just without help. Like it's if you had to solo run a booth, like kudos to you, because the amount you have to keep track of, get stuff. I mean, even just having a secondary person at the booth so that someone can watch the booth while you like go to the bathroom or something it's crazy that some people just like solo run their table. So shout outs to all the, like Pokemon vendors or just, whatever vendors out there. Saw Jar Chomp there.
Yeah, I saw Jar Chomp. I saw Bulbasaur. I brought them some merch from World. So Jar Chomp got something from me. Bulbasaur got something from me.
Wait, what Bulbasaur get from you?
He got a shirt and a surprise for his partner as well, because I asked him like, hey, do you want anything from the Pokemon Center? And I'll pick it up for you. So just helping out some of our buds.
Yeah. And I'll say this. It was, I didn't get to like film anything with them or film much at all, because when you're vendoring, you really just have to focus on content going on at your table. Yeah. I had a great idea.
That's how Koof does it.
I know. And you know what? So that was the other thing. We did get to film some stuff, but then the camera like got too full on memory. So I'm like, I'll talk to,
it's a learning experience. The same thing with like podcasting. I think like our current podcast is so much better than our first 10, and I'm really happy about that. But it's a learning experience, and you learn by doing. So that's something I'd recommend to anyone, is that if you guys want to try vending, if you want to try YouTubing, podcasting, you just got to try it.
Yeah, you just
got to go for it.
It's not going to be perfect. I would say even with creating content, like Alex always says this all the time, with just like your first couple videos are not going to be your best work, but you have to make those and learn from your mistakes so that your 50th video is better than your first, and then your 100th video is better than your 50th. So yeah, we were just kind of going through the ropes of vending, and it was really, really fun. We had a lot of people come up and, wanting to like cash out their cards and sell some stuff specifically to us at Card Lounge. I also realized there's a lot of people that are really, really savvy. And what I mean by that is, if I was just me going to our own Card Lounge booth and seeing what everything was for available, it's not even like the best or the most expensive cards, but the stuff that I would even deem undervalued, people just like picked, like pointed those things out like a hawk. Like they would
they knew what was the good stuff.
They knew like there was a guy that bought like 4 gold Mews in a 10, and I looked up market, like the market on those was like 110, 120, and I was like, 110, 120, you know how hard it is to grade these in a 10? And they're only, but maybe it's because it's a gold card, but it still looks beautiful. And I'm kind of like, well, I'm looking at the gold 10 Pikachus and the gold 10 Charizards from the Celebrations UPC.
Yep.
And I'm just like, why would this 151 Mew not follow that same trend? You know what I mean?
I get you.
So I was almost like, ugh, do I want to sell all these? Luckily, I still have one or two in my personal collection, but I'm like, you know what? He's here. He wants to buy them. This is what they're worth. And he just picked them all up. And I was like,
he was just making a play,
yeah,
and that's part of it.
Someone else picked up a bunch of the Kingdras, the special illustration.
Oh yeah,
rares.
those popped off really hard. They just like boom one day.
So I think they're still undervalued. And it was actually, I learned that from the buyer because we were talking about it. I was like, dude, I think these still, like, it's an amazing artwork. You know what's funny about it? It's kind of got the Japanese water wave style of that very famous like Japanese artwork. You know, the paintings where it's like the waves. But that Kingdra, did you know it? Do you know what's special about it?
It's not available in Japanese?
Correct.
I know that.
Go and we can't pull that anymore. That was just from a box collection of ours.
Yeah,
so
that's something that I should have thought of. Is that I'll tell you, if I had some of those at the World Championship, the Japanese players might have loved it.
Correct. Getting those now in English for the fact that like other people in other countries, especially Japan, when it's their style of artwork and they can't get a Japanese version of it, why would it not garner the respect of the entire world? Like globally, the market would want that card.
That is a great call out, and I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember this conversation all the way into the next world.
Everyone's going to.
It's okay.
But this is,
it's getting that knowledge out
for them. Exactly. Yeah. It's like we want our Card Lounge listeners to have a leg up on everyone else. So, you guys get to listen to us, and I'm saying we're obviously the entire world isn't like listening to this podcast, but I honestly think that Kingdra is even though it's gone up as much as it has, I still think has so much more potential.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And
see what I'm saying?
I still have a couple of those sealed, and I would love to bring those to the next Worlds, and I would love to test that out. I would love to see if the players there would love it, and that's something I'm willing to do.
I think you'll get huge trade value out of them.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's just like some of these items on the market, they might not make sense, and it is a part of it is that Pokemon is so global now. Like the way that we want those McDonald's booster packs over here, like the reason why those McDonald's packs sold out day one was because it's no longer about Japan. It's about global
the world
demand.
Getting them.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's about global demand.
And so that also goes into my why, in the last podcast, so I know you were saying like, oh, we have this civil war and people are like disagreeing with, or like not, I mean, I guess you and me were disagreeing, but not in a bad way. But it's just, I think that what's different now than even 5 years ago, even with the 2020 boom, is it's not even about what American cards can be printed to appease the demand of America, what Japanese cards can be printed to appease the demand of Japan. I think you just got to look at it now as like when cards for a set get printed, how does it appease the global demand, the world? And at the end of the day, no printing facility can print more than 24 hours in a day. And at the end of the day, stuff on metal things, if it's moving 24/7, is going to overheat. They have to replace blades to cut cards. They have to replace ink.
Yeah.
They cannot print enough cards to meet global demand unless literally Pokemon buys a open area of land the size of 10 football fields and spends 2 to 3 years building a new printing facility and then manning it, having personnel, training them, and then they can print way, way, way more cards. And until we hear news that Pokemon's doing that, max capacity is max capacity. That's why I thought it was so funny. There was this comment on IG. I think it was on Dan's IG post.
Catch 'em all collectibles.
Dude, I'll read it to you.
Okay.
And it kind of brought me back to our conversation, which is why it's great that we do this podcast, because not only does it keep like a record in time of like what we're saying and how we're thinking at any given moment in time, but I think it really just shows with a lot of like how we all think as people in this larger market on certain things. It's not a question of right or wrong. Like you mentioned this in the last pod where it's like, I don't think I'm right and you're wrong, or that you're right and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just think we're thinking about it differently. And then what ends up being right and wrong is almost like a mass byproduct of the way the majority thinks. And you could consider that the sheep thought or the group think. And then who is willing to swim the opposite direction as everyone else? And that is the person that ends up profiting or getting a more net positive ROI because they're doing, when everyone sells, you buy. When everyone buys, you sell. And that person usually ends up being right. But they're not right by making the call to buy when everyone's selling, because if everyone just switched to buying, their call to quote unquote buy would be wrong. They're just swimming the opposite direction as the majority of the way of the stream.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Is that basically while you're looking for that comment, for any trade to happen, you guys have to sort of have a small disagreement. That small disagreement has to occur for the trade to occur, which is why you both have to believe that you got a good deal.
Correct.
Because if you didn't believe that you had a deal, you wouldn't have done the trade in the first place. Yes. So you both have to agree on that.
Guys, there's no way money in this hobby, and that's why I think it's so funny when people, there's people that collect. Again, guys, we all love Pokemon. We're all passionate about it, but you have to respect the value in the card. You may not have to be like, oh, keep money out of Pokemon. It doesn't have to all be about money, but you cannot separate the money aspect from collectibles. And what I mean by that is, even from a trade perspective, with no cash or no money involved, there has to be someone that loses value on something for someone to gain value on something. Otherwise, as we exchange cards in the ecosystem, it just all stays net neutral.
Yeah.
That no one then there'd be no change or shift in pricing or anything happening.
Yeah.
If every single person's trade was a net neutral, exactly 50-50 even thing. For when someone says to me, "Oh, dude, you made a good deal. You made a good trade," that isn't because some magic I magically made money appear out of thin air. It's because someone else on the other end of the stick lost because they thought some way, and I just thought more.
Yeah, and it's not a right or wrong.
Exactly.
It's not like that person is like, haha, you lost or something.
Exactly. They just like maybe the card that they got out of it. And you're trying to make trades that are beneficial to you, but ultimately sometimes someone feels like they got a bit like. For people to make the trade happen, both parties think that they're right or they're winning in some way.
Yes.
Even if they view, which usually this is how a trade works, that an even exchange is going on. But then the market will dictate upon that trade whose value of their cards goes up, whose value goes down. And that ultimately is what dictates who, quote unquote, is right or wrong.
Yeah.
Not the decision that trainer A or trainer B are making.
Yeah, the example I used earlier was at Pokemon Worlds, right? That happened all the time.
Yeah.
Was I was making all these trades with these international players, and they thought they were getting fantastic trades, and I thought I was getting fantastic trades as well. And that's ultimately because we are going back to our home city. They're going back to Tokyo or Beijing or Guangzhou or wherever they live, and I was going back to Las Vegas. And when I go back to Las Vegas, all these international cards are only available to me. Like, no one else has any of these international Chinese or Japanese cards. So I'm getting demand cards. And when they go back to Japan, they are getting English exclusive stuff that no one else there has.
It's going to be high in demand over there.
Yeah.
Right. So
free trade is just fun.
I want to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
So there was a comment where someone said, just to chime in, and they tagged me in it. I'm not engrossed in the printing details, but I'll say this. I heard that Pokemon physically can't print more before. I heard that they won't destroy the secondary market, etc., etc. I'm just looking at it from a historical perspective. From Roaring Skies to now, Pokemon Center will find a way and print to Kingdom Come. History always repeats itself. The most dangerous phrase in history is, this time it's different. So I think they were commenting on something, not even one of the Card Lounge clips, but something on, Ketchumall's clips, where he was maybe acknowledging something's different. What I'm saying is different now is the velocity trajectory, and the speed of velocity is a lot quicker in today's society than 5-10 years ago, especially in Pokemon. So my comment back to him was, wait, I agree with this because I agree history does repeat itself, but I'm saying, what are you saying that's different? All I said was, I'm saying what's different now is the velocity. Millennials are now adults with money. So are the Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4 kids, which was what we talked about earlier in this podcast about adult Pokemon. That's different. We're in a different era now than we were 15 years ago. 2025 is different from, there you go, 2015 by a decade. When you say history repeats itself, the patterns can remain consistent, but to imply that the state of the world and affairs and Pokemon is not different would be a misstep. So that's all I said. And that part would be a misstep, not his way of thinking or that he's wrong. And then I commented how we touched on this on the last episode of the Card Lounge podcast. I don't know if he listens to Card Lounge, but, I said, you're saying Roaring Skies in his post, but like, what's your point of that? They printed more of it? Are you saying that they tried to print that to the ground and that destroyed the secondary market? Because have you seen Roaring Skies box prices in the last 6 years? And now if we look at a Roaring Skies box, it's not readily available and it's not like plentiful, So he goes, my point is, even if some things are different, modern sets are going to be printed to Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
I go, okay, so then why did you bring up history repeats itself? His belief, guys, is that modern sets are going to be printed to Kingdom Come. I agree that they are printing so many more modern cards than they did sets 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's why there's a lot of the Moonbryon. There's a lot of any alt art card. But there's also a ton more demand. So
I get where you're both saying is that, like, you agree, like, hey, they're printing way more, and you're also agreeing, like, hey, there's just going to be way more demand.
Exactly.
Both is climbing.
Right. So ultimately, how this conversation ended was like he's saying, look, history repeats itself. They're just going to keep printing more and more. People investing heavily, then the price is crashing when it got reprinted. Anything in standard is always going to have a reprint potentially if the supply for players is getting low. So I told him when Sword and Shield was out, Evolving Skies, everyone thought Fusion Strike was overprinted. They were like, this is garbage. This is modern garbage. Yeah. This is going to be the junk wax era of Pokemon because Sword and Shield was so overprinted. Yeah. Look at Fusion Strike boxes now. Look at Evolving Skies boxes now. The ironic part, though, is, guys, I'm not trying to convince him he's wrong. And I'm not trying to be harsh on him and say, like, yeah, I'm right, you're wrong. And I don't think he was maybe necessarily doing that to me. But what's funny is I have to let him think what he thinks, because ultimately he believes he's right because he thinks history will repeat itself. I think I'm right because of the same thing. History will repeat itself. But the way he interprets history is so different from how I'm interpreting it. But how I think I will come out ahead of this guy is because him and other people like him will make plays in the hobby thinking history repeats itself, but believing what they believe. And because they believe what they believe is why I will end up being right, not because my call is right, but because society will make it that way. So, for example, I think history repeats itself, meaning Pokemon prints a bunch of stuff. People think it's overprinted. It drops prices, but then 3, 4, 5 years later, it's not enough. It's not enough to meet the future global demand. And so what that means is I'm thinking that because he thinks that, he won't buy up certain boxes that I will. And he won't just make certain actions or make certain trades where he values, he might sell me an Evolving Skies box 3 years ago for $200 because he's like, yeah, this is junk wax and I'd rather have the $200. And I'll take it because I know 2 years from now, it's going to be worth more than that. He has to think, like, him and a bunch of other people have to think his way while still using my logic to support their thesis, and my logic will support my thesis, but I'm only right because they're thinking that way. Does that make sense? I know that was very long, but it's important for our viewers to, like, understand that concept.
Yeah. So basically I get both sides is that he's saying, like, hey, let's use Destined Rivals, which was the example we used last time. He's thinking, hey, Destined Rivals is printed demand. It's $300 right now. I'm going to sell it. And you have to say, oh, Destined Rivals, I think is still going to be worth way more in 5 years. I'm willing to buy it because I think it's going to go up and he thinks he's going to go down, which is both okay. It might go down in the next 2 years, but in the long run, it might still go up. And both of you guys can still be right, and both of you guys can still have the same thesis. It's just in like a little bit different direction.
Right.
Almost.
Well, that was ultimately what you and me were, our disagreement in the last podcast. But what's funny is, you know what? I rewatched the end of our last podcast, and there's one thing that wasn't brought up that I think is the thing to consider.
Sure.
You know how you're talking about, oh, later when Destined Rivals goes down, I would buy more of it. And you think I bought too much of it now because it's like only like 2 sets back.
Yes, we're talking purely about timing right now.
Timing. Okay, right. So this is what's interesting. This is the factor that I think you may not be considering. The factor is where your attention is a year from now. I think you and me will both be distracted by the same things, but I'll have already been the one to make the call. And what I mean by that is I'm technically saying you might be right. And that's why, again, guys, that's why the right wrong thing is dangerous. Don't argue with people saying I'm right, you're wrong. It's not about that. When I say I think you might be right, I think a year from now, there might be a moment where you could technically pick up Destined Rivals for cheaper than when I picked it up, but you will miss that window because you will not be thinking about Destined Rivals a year from now.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
You'll be thinking about Mega and other stuff,
right.
and I'll be thinking about it too. So the basis for my play is not to say, oh, this is the best time to pick up Destined Rivals, period.
You're just doing it now so that you can set it, forget it. You don't have to think about it
later again. Because I think there's other things that you will want to put your money towards, as well as me, that we won't even be looking at Destined Rivals a year from now.
So you're absolutely right, and that's where the thing is. When we're having our conversation, it's not that big of a disagreement. It's not like one of us is gloating at another person. Where ultimately sometimes people do think it's a little bit more ego-y. But if, let's say, I'm right or you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, I'm not going to gloat about it. It's not that big of a deal.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I just said how I think you're a little bit right, and I just said it, and then you were like, no, you're right. It's like, and that's why it's so funny. It's like we're both saying the same thing or using the same data to support different theses, and it's just there's so many other variables that are outside of what's in our control that will ultimately dictate what things are at what prices.
Yeah.
You know?
So the style that I am is I like looking at plays that no one else is looking at. So while everyone else is looking at Phantasmal Flames and is trying to scoop those up at $300, and everyone is sleeping on Destined Rivals, and somehow it's like at 150 retail and people haven't picked it up, then that's who I'm picking up. So that's the person I like to be. But yes, it's a very different.
I'm like that too. It's funny. You know what? I did buy cases of Destined Rivals because I believe it's a strong set, but I also bought other things outside of Pokemon, and I could have also not spent that money on Pokemon cards and put that same X amount of money towards something different. And what that, you know what's so funny? I'm not buying a lot of Pokemon stuff right now. Even at the show, I felt like I was selling more than buying.
You're right. I didn't really buy it that much from Front Row.
Because Pokemon's hot. Everything's so expensive. You know what? When you're like, I like to look at plays no one else is looking at, I think everyone's looking at Pokemon right now. And really, honestly, if I'm going to be like, where am I spending most of my money right now? It's in One Piece. Because the biggest, like, everyone's looking left, so I'm looking right type of thing I can do is just everyone's buying Pokemon right now. So I should be selling Pokemon and I should be buying One Piece because I think 2 years from now, regardless of what happens in Pokemon, it's going to flip-flop. And when One Piece is super hot, I'll be glad I bought like so much One Piece cards when everything was so cheap.
There's someone in the comment section that says, I want you guys to talk about One Piece. This is day one of me mentioning it. And I'm glad that we got to it sooner or later, but ultimately I get that too. And I know that's happening right now in One Piece is that it's clearly going to stick around. It's not one of those card games that's going to disappear in 3 years.
Correct.
And that's what most people worry about new TCGs is they disappear in 3 years.
Sure. And that's a valid concern.
And One Piece has set the standard that, hey, we're sticking around for long now. And so some of the first edition One Piece booster boxes, the Roban Dawn blue bottom boxes have popped off because people are now saying, yo, like I can confidently believe in this franchise and this IP is going to stick around for 20 years.
Right. And so I'm not the only one. I saw the plays. I probably should have picked up some more stuff from Romance Dawn. That's the first set of One Piece. If you guys collect the One Piece trading card game.
Blue Bottom is the first edition.
First
Romance
edition.
Dawn
Yeah.
set.
So remember when those dipped below 1,000 and we're like, I thought these were going to keep going up. And now look at what are they at now per box? Like
over 2,000.
Oh my gosh. So that's the first edition base set box. We see what Pokemon did with that, and that's why I didn't let go of my blue bottoms. You sold your blue bottoms, didn't you?
I have all of them.
Oh, you have them all?
I have
did you sell
8
white
blue
bottoms?
bottom or 9 blue bottoms
That you picked up at a very good
yeah. I still have a couple of white bottoms. The white bottoms aren't as bad. They're still very strong. They're like 400.
Set one. Yeah.
So I actually sold a bunch of white bottoms a year and a half ago for 400. And I'm glad I did because they dipped down to like 100 because they reprinted white bottoms, which is what I thought would happen. And now they're back up to 400 again.
Did you pick some back up when they were at 100?
Nope, I'm okay with that.
Okay, fair enough. But what's funny is, so I'm not the only one, because obviously it's not like I'd be the only one to think of this, but you do see people picking up first edition Romance Dawn stuff, stuff from Paramount Wars. Dude,
before they were rotted,
There was a OPO2 alt art that I know I've seen on auction sell for like $150, $200. I put an auction where I thought I was going to win it, like a PSA 10 for, I think
you put in a confident number and you got outbid it.
And I got, because I knew I wasn't going to make the end auction time, I put, dude, 100 over a confident number.
Yeah.
And I lost it. And that was a signal to me to go, oh, people are looking at vintage. I say vintage, but
vintage One Piece.
Vintage One Piece from 3 years ago. But
yeah.
they're looking at the alt arts and going, oh, these were people did not respect these like they should have.
Yeah. Yeah, so during some of my recent live streams, I started selling some One Piece cards, and they were hot. The people were excited for them. Like, I remember there were people in chat like, "Are you gonna sell some One Piece cards?" I'm like, "I guess I will now that you guys have asked." But yeah, it's very interesting to see how the hobby and just like the climate of collecting evolves, and there's changes, but it also stays the same. Like if you're confident, you know what's happening, you can absolutely see how the ebbs and flows are going.
Right. So guys, when you guys listen to us, again, it's not like anything that we say, well, I mean, we'll never tell you like, you guys should buy this, you guys should sell this. This isn't like a financial advice channel. This is just us talking about what we do with our personal collections and what we're looking at and what we like. But you guys can listen to us, come to your own conclusions. Again, no one's like right or wrong. But I think that guy that was like so focused on, saying like everything's going to be overprinted, I'm like, dude, it's like people don't understand what max printing is. Like when something is max capacity,
it's almost like you guys.
Yes,
you're right. You guys are both talking about the exact same timeline, but he sees it in the next 1.5 years, and you're just saying 5 years. And it's almost like a timing thing, but it's very interesting. But you guys both agree on where the timeline is. Maybe it dips a little bit, but then it goes back up. Something of that nature. It's very interesting how the hobby is in a kind of a fun space, but that's part of the fun is that we can have these little conversations, and they need to happen. We need to have these conversations, which is why we have
the podcast. Hey, so thank you guys for tuning in to Card Lounge, and hope everyone that went to Worlds got to enjoy their time at Pokemon Worlds. If you guys want information on the next Pokemon Worlds, you can always find that on their website. I believe next year it's in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Peace out, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for lounging with us.